Welcome to the Figure 4 podcast. I'm Mike Cummings. With me, Dan Marino. And this week we're going to be taking a look at everything that went down during the Superstar Shakeup on Raw and SmackDown Live. We'll also be taking a brief look at the greatest Royal Rumble event next week in Saudi Arabia. So, Dan, lots and lots of moves this year. Probably more moves than last year, I'd have to say. And I was very intrigued by a lot of these. But let's get right into this one. Jinder Mahal. That's the first move that took place on Raw. Jinder Mahal and Sunil Singh making their way over to Monday Night Raw from SmackDown. Now remember, Jinder was, quote, was the United States champion heading into Raw, but he did not hold on to the title.
Yeah, that was something, all right. The first thought I had when Jinder came out to open up Raw was this whole, as we talked about last week on the podcast, and I think the week before that, the whole foreigner carrying the U.S. title thing. I thought they were going to take it to the next level and really push it on Raw. So I was pretty glad when Hardy came out, because then I was like, all right, maybe Jeff wins it and then goes over to SmackDown, because there was no way they were putting Rollins on SmackDown, and there was no way.
See, that's what I thought. I thought they'd make that big move, because I think for Rollins that'd be great, because Seth has that. Obviously, he has that ability to be a main event guy, and it's not news at this point, so yeah. I thought they would make that big move, and I really wanted to see Hardy move over to Raw, or to SmackDown, Jeff, that is. But not as champion, if that makes sense. I wanted to see both of them go over, but I'm not mad that Jeff is over on SmackDown as U.S. champion, so
yeah.
I was intrigued by that, because I didn't think Jeff would have a huge push right out the gate, but he's only been back for 2 weeks, and he's already the U.S. champion and on a new show, so lots going on for him to start off, but him and Jinder are gonna. Him and Jinder are gonna square off for the U.S. Championship. Obviously, Mahal gets his rematch at the Greatest Royal Rumble. So, I doubt it's gonna head back to Raw, but you never know.
There's no way. I'll say that right now. I do know it's not happening. No, but with
you never know.
No, exactly, but. With Seth Rollins, I agree with you that he obviously is a main eventer, and he probably would have taken up a spot at the top of SmackDown if he did go over, but I think they're ready to push him as the main eventer of Raw. I think this is the year of Rollins on Raw. You know what I mean?
I would love to see Monday Night Rollins become, a legitimate thing.
I think this is the year, man. I really do.
Because we haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah.
Last year, he was kind of floating around. Obviously got back together with the Shield, did his whole thing with Jason Jordan, which I know people weren't a fan of, and the IC title picture was great for him. And I think having a guy that is I'm not going to put him in the same caliber as when Cena had the U.S. title, but when you have a big name holding a secondary title, it gives it more prestige, kind of like the Miz,
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
I'm not mad he's not in the world title picture. I would like to see him there eventually, but. It's a good move to have him kind of holding a title that, matters now. So, and he's feuding with guys, Finn Balor and The Miz. And that's the interesting thing, because I'm just looking at the lineup for the Greatest Royal Rumble. He's going to defend the title in a 4-way ladder match against Balor, Miz, and Samoa Joe. So, what's interesting about that is now half the superstars in that match are both members of SmackDown Live. We'll get to that in a bit. But do you think that opens up the possibility of the IC title going back to SmackDown, and if so, does that kind of guarantee that the U.S. title goes back to Raw? I don't know. There's so many possibilities, right?
Yeah, it's odd. That's the problem with having an event right after the Superstar, like literally a week after the Superstar Shakeup. It kind of makes you feel like some of the results are obvious. Like I feel like Seth and Jeff are both just going to retain to keep their titles where they are, and then at Backlash maybe there'll be a change. But I don't know. I can't see them switching the titles over now. I feel like that would be too much changing. You know what I mean? Like the US title goes over, then the Intercontinental title goes over, and they switch back. Like it would be weird if they did that. So
you got to kind of ease it in a little bit. And
exactly.
I think like for one match, we'll get to it in a second. One match, I definitely think the result has been spoiled, but you never know. But with Joe already saying to Roman Reigns that they're going to meet at Backlash, I guess that doesn't mean he's going to hold the IC title. I don't know. You know what I mean? There's so many moves, but I definitely agree. Like you can't have too much going on at once. So
yeah, exactly.
We'll see. I don't know. I don't really know what to expect from the Greatest Royal Rumble. But anyway, Jinder Mahal heading over to Monday Night Raw with Sunil Singh, without the U.S. Championship, but he's going to try to bring it back to himself. The Riot Squad heading over to Raw as well. They made their debuts this past week, attacking Sasha Banks and Bayley during their during their match. And I guess having them go over to Raw, it made sense for Mandy Rose and Sonya to be able to head over to SmackDown because you kind of split up the stables there. But what do you think? Do you think they're gonna have a big impact, or do you think it's gonna be more of the same that we saw on SmackDown?
I would hope they'd have a bigger impact, but to be honest, I'm kind of leaning towards the latter, that it's going to be more of the same. I think, like you said, they just wanted to keep Paige with Absolution, and then so they had to switch the two stables over, right? I still find it kind of weird that they both stables came up at the same time on different shows. Like, they were basically just doing the same thing. And so obviously they wanted to keep it separate now. I don't know, man. It's getting kind of crowded on Raw.
Well, the thing is, I mean, the only reason really that the 5 of them were brought up collectively was because of the Women's Royal Rumble match, which I don't think you really needed because, I mean, you could have just called people up from NXT. We saw that during the Women's WrestleMania Battle Royals. You know, you just bring up they have 6 NXT females in there, so I didn't think you needed to bring up so many, and now, yeah, like you said, you can't send them back, right? So it's just so crowded. So yeah, splitting that up was a good move, but we'll see. I mean, they're gonna insert themselves into the Sasha and Bayley feud, I'm assuming. So how that plays out, we'll see. Maybe Sasha and Bayley will kind of join forces once again to take out this opposition. Maybe they'll get some help from somebody else in the locker room, maybe Ember Moon or something, who has history with. Well, with Ruby Riott at least, so you never know.
I think that's interesting, but I think what they're doing is trying to prolong the whole Bayley versus Sasha Banks rivalry, which is weird because it's been a while since they've been like hinting at them having a big confrontation. I think if there was more room on the WrestleMania card, they would have had a one-on-one match, but because obviously there was no room, they didn't. So I guess they're just kind of, maybe they're trying to push Bayley and Sasha Banks match at a pay-per-view to SummerSlam. And so in the meantime, they'll have to team up and keep teasing splitting up, even though they already did split up. Like it's weird.
Kind of put some sort of filler story just for a few months. And then
exactly.
Have it implode once again. Yeah, I mean it's a match. You remember they've had some great matches at takeovers and all that, and being a part of WrestleMania together last year.
Yeah.
But then obviously just how it has to happen. They had a match this past week on Raw, which was it's a good match, but. It's Monday Night Raw. It's not SummerSlam. It's not, so...
It's not the proper blow-off, right?
Maybe it'll involve the women's title. Who knows? But definitely intriguing. So the Riot Squad heading over to Monday Night Raw. Mm-hmm. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, they have jobs. They weren't fired. It's not. They weren't actually fired. They have jobs. They're back on Raw. I knew they were going to obviously be on Raw or SmackDown. I think they're going to have a big role. Raw's loaded now, I think. Bringing these two guys in. So I would hope that they're going to be at the same level they were on SmackDown, kind of the guys closing out the show and causing a lot of trouble. I just hope they don't fall victim to, Roman Reigns is there now, or it has always been there. Mm-hmm. Bobby Lashley's there now. You have a lot of guys who the company might put ahead of them. But I hope, they're great workers. They're very fun to watch. And obviously right off the bat, it looks like they're going to have some issues with Kurt Angle, so I hope they're getting in that same realm as where they were on SmackDown.
Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So
exactly, man. But that's never been WWE's mentality.
Yeah, right.
If it ain't broke, just we're gonna break it more.
Yeah, exactly. So. But no, I think that I thought it was kind of ironic that they had them being introduced by The Miz on Monday, because I think they're gonna take over his spot on Raw, like upper mid card heel. That is honestly sometimes the best part about Raw for several weeks, but isn't really the main eventer, which is a fine spot. Like, it's a really important spot. I personally don't think there's anyone I'd rather watch than Kevin Owens, so I'd love him to be always in the main event scene, but he'll always be. I think him and Zayn are gonna hover around the main event scene, so I think they'll be okay.
I'd hope so, because I'd say for Sammy, his first run on Raw wasn't too successful. Post draft, obviously, KO Universal Champion, didn't get his rematch after he lost it to Goldberg of all people. So maybe he'll make that case, kind of like Finn Balor. Never really were given their rematches. I guess Finn relinquished it, but I mean that's legitimate. I still think he earns his title opportunity. So yeah, there's obviously some storyline there. I hope they just stick together, especially with a couple tag teams heading over to SmackDown. Give them the tag team titles or something. Them in the ring with Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy. You never know, something like that. It's awesome. A lot of possibilities. That's the thing. That's the thing about the Superstar Shakeup. Lots of possibilities. You mentioned the Miz. Miz heading over to SmackDown again. So I am very happy. I think I'm not going to say that wins them the Superstar Shakeup, but that's a huge piece going back to SmackDown because I know he was there right after the draft. Dude, the Miz is the man.
Yeah,
he's the guy.
He really is. He's been cutting the best promos in the company for a while now.
Oh yeah, and they're you can tell a lot of it's very genuine.
Yeah,
I mean, at least that's how he plays it off. So he's a great actor. I mean, if you've seen The Marine, he's a great actor. And then he's doing
The Marine.
I've never seen it, so I'm gonna assume it's Anyway, sorry, Miz. He's gonna be doing some stuff with Daniel Bryan now, which is cool. They actually have some matches announced against one another during the WWE UK tour in May, I want to say. So
yeah,
I'm cool with that, man. I love that story, and it's been going on for 8 years at this point. Obviously it was very on and off at the beginning, but it's been going on since the original NXT, which is awesome to me. And the Miz was the guy, U.S. champion at the time, but he was kind of the guy nurturing this young rookie. Well, this young rookie has a lot of experience, and he was a big star on the independent scene, and he's taken over as one of the most popular stars of all time in WWE. So
yeah,
I love this feud, man, and I cannot wait for it to continue on SmackDown, especially now that Bryan's back as an active competitor.
Yeah, we've been waiting a long time for this. Like you said, their first big match was I believe it was at Night of Champions for the U.S. title, and when Bryan beat him clean a long time ago. But now
maybe 2010, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, during the original NXT years. So it's been a long time coming. Daniel Bryan is obviously a lot bigger than he was then, but The Miz has also proven himself a lot since then too.
For sure.
If Bryan didn't get hurt, this would have been maybe a WrestleMania match 2 years ago. So some of the promos they've cut on each other, even when Bryan was out, were amazing. So I'm
so
really
good.
looking forward to this. Yeah, I hope they fight at SummerSlam or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and give it a title. Amazing. Give it a title. Give it the U.S. title or something. If you're gonna keep AJ in that main event scene,
which I think they will.
It's cool. Yeah. It's cool. Zack Ryder heading over to Raw. That was announced on Twitter. So
big time acquisition by the Red Brand. Zack Ryder.
I hope Broski finds his footing on Raw because he was floundering on SmackDown, unfortunately. Breezango heading over to Raw. They picked up a big win over the Bar, which was cool. I'm a big fan of theirs, and I love their stuff with New Day, at least. I guess that's more of an up, down, down kind of thing. So we're not going to get to see those guys anymore on up, down, down if you're a fan of the show, which sucks, but it is what it is. And knowing Raw and Vince McMahon, I feel like these guys are not going to get the push that a lot of people deserve, but you never know. You never know.
No, that's fair. I mean, I think the Raw tag team division obviously took a hit during the Superstar Shakeup. I think the SmackDown division was already better, but so maybe they get a little bit more of a spotlight because there's not really much left on Raw.
I'd hope so.
Yeah.
Natalya heading over to Raw, and it's looks like she's gonna be a face now, and it looks like she also has some very good backup, very good company in Ronda Rousey. Natalya faced one of the members of Absolution. Forgot off the top of my head, on Raw this past week, and post-match beatdown, you know how it goes. Someone's got to make the save. It was Ronda Rousey. So, Rousey had a little thing with Sonya Deville, and I think that's a cool spot for Ronda because, having her with Natalya, that's a vet. She's been around for such a long time, and not even just in WWE, but just in professional wrestling overall, to sort of pair her with somebody who has a lot of experience and, something, a lot to share with Ronda, who's just starting in WWE. That's big for her, and I'm sure this is going to lead to some sort of tag team match or something like that. But man, it's cool, and having her, having Ronda against Sonya Deville, who has the MMA background as well. That's something they're trying to build up. I think it works. I think this is a great kind of first post WrestleMania feud for Ronda, and unfortunately, it's just kind of using Natalya. But I mean, she's gotten a good spotlight.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see where it goes. I kind of got the feeling that they're like, is Natalya full face now? Because I kind of got the feeling that it was going to be Ronda versus Natalya. You know
I think.
I mean?
See, I think that's what it's eventually going to build towards.
Yeah.
I think they'll kind of be friends and take down Absolution. Yeah, bury the young talent, whatever. And I'm just playing. And eventually Natty's gonna say, well, you know what? This is my show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the best there is, best there was, best there ever will be. No one has ever said that before in history, just me. And maybe they'll lead to a match. I think it will happen. But having. Well, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say the only weird thing would be, like, I have no problem with Natalya being Ronda's first post WrestleMania rivalry, like her first real rivalry with that isn't against one of the owners of WWE. I have no problem with that, but it's just weird if Natalya randomly turns face. Like, there's no indication of her turning face whatsoever. She just shows up on Raw as a face, and then teams up with Ronda for a few weeks, and then turns heel right away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, okay, here's the thing. We know WWE, it doesn't make sense at all, right? So this is the thing that could happen. The only way I could look at it from Natalya is, she was kind of there on SmackDown just kind of after her title run and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And, she's looking for a fresh start. And, hey, this brand new talent who's going to be the face of the women's division, we're friends, so let's pair up together.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to use her for her talents, and when I don't need her anymore, I'm going to kick her to the curb. I'm also going to ultimately lose the feud, but it is what it is. So I think that's what it might build towards, but I could be wrong, obviously. So nonetheless, it's intriguing, and we will see what happens. Another move to Raw, the big one. Mojo Rawley to Monday Night Raw. He wants respect. Dan, he wants respect. Is he going to get the respect, or is he just going to be Mojo? Is he going to be Gronk's friend? He's just Gronk's friend at this point.
Gronk still might retire. We don't know what the hell's going on over there. So maybe they will beef up the Raw tag team division. Gronk and Mojo.
Oh my god, dude! If they got Gronk, I have nothing against Gronk, but if he comes, they're just gonna they're gonna make him a champion right off the bat.
Yeah. Of course.
If I have to turn on my TV every week to watch Raw and I see Mojo Rawley and Rob Gronkowski as the tag champs, I'm turning it off. I'm sorry. But I want to see the other guys. I want to see the Revival.
Yeah, man, those guys deserve better.
I thought they were heading to SmackDown. They still might. I have a theory they still might, but I'll let you know about that in a sec.
Yeah.
I want to see them as the Raw Tag Team Champions. I also really want to see this pairing as the Tag Team Champions. I was caught off guard. We talked about this just before we started recording.
Mm-hmm.
Dolph Ziggler, which I'm cool with him going to Raw. I knew that was probably going to happen. Drew McIntyre. What?
Yeah, I came out
That's
of nowhere.
crazy. I was shocked. Ziggler's teasing that somebody else is there with him. Last person I thought it was going to be Drew McIntyre. I thought it was going to be Zack Ryder or something. No disrespect, broski, but dude, Drew McIntyre. That's a big name now.
Yeah.
What's going to happen here?
Well, I just wanted to say it's one of those things that I thought, but I had no previous indication that it was going to happen. But it's pretty impressive when you don't think it's going to happen and it does, and immediately you just know this. This kind of makes a lot of sense, right? You talked about before we started recording how some people are comparing this to Shawn Michaels and Kevin Nash, which is a nice thing to be compared to. I think it's a really good spot for Drew McIntyre, and it's a good spot for Ziggler. It's almost perfect. Drew, I feel like after what happened the first time with his WWE run, needs to be kind of eased back into the main roster, and I think as a heel behind someone who's good on the mic like Dolph, I think that's a perfect spot for him. And it's also going to push him up the card. And then Ziggler just needed something exciting to make him relevant again. You know what I mean? Not that he was irrelevant, but it's...
Well, because the thing with Ziggler, he never failed to put on a good match. That was never the concern. He's great in the ring. I guess it was finding that way to just pull the audience in. And I think now bringing in McIntyre, and especially, amongst the fans who watch NXT, he was a big part of the NXT brand over the past year.
Yeah.
Had the NXT Championship and all that. So it's I don't know where this is going to go. If they're going to go after the tag titles, if it's going to be kind of a Ziggler's the kind of the guy, but McIntyre's the backup, and vice versa sort of thing.
Yeah,
I don't know, man, but it's cool.
It could just be a two-man stable, but either way, it's something that people are going to want to see because they want to know what's going to happen, and it's a great situation for both guys.
It's the biggest shock for me in the Superstar Shakeup for sure.
Yeah,
I was blown away by McIntyre debuting on Raw, and especially alongside. Like, if he came by himself, that's cool because it's obviously some NXT guys and girls were gonna get called up.
Mm-hmm.
But to put him with Ziggler, like, yeah, I'm sold. Like I want to see what's gonna happen next week. I actually want to watch Raw and see what's gonna happen with these two next week, and I really hope they get some sort of good spot on the show. So
yeah,
it's cool. Baron Corbin heading over to Raw. Fresh start for him. Again, kind of floundering on SmackDown after failing to cash in the Money in the Bank contract successfully in the U.S. title run ended and all that. Still trying to find his footing. I think putting him on Raw is a good spot. Have him. Roman Reigns is there now, or has been there for the whole time. So those would be some cool matches, and just opens up some possibilities for different things to happen. So yeah, I think he could be a big player on Raw. So we'll see.
I think with Baron Corbin, it's just that he was, like you said, he had kind of a rough year, so he's one of those guys that really benefited from the Superstar Shakeup, and that it just gives him a fresh start, right? Like there's a bunch of fresh matchups for him on Raw, so
yeah, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, exactly.
Mike Kanellis heading over to Raw. Announced on the WWE Twitter account. We'll see. He's looking to have some big.
It was such big news
big year
that they announced it on their Twitter account instead of on the broadcast. That's how big it was.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, but we'll see. I don't know. Congratulations to him and Maria, by the way, obviously on their the child. And I don't know if we're gonna see Maria on TV for a while, if she'll ever come back. But I wish all the best to Mike. And yeah, hopefully we're not just ending up on Superstars or main event the whole time, but we'll see. Much like these guys, the Ascension heading over to Raw as part of the shakeup. Raw also got very much more glorious because Bobby Roode heading over to Raw as well. This is cool. Again, it just kind of opens up the possibilities for more matches, kind of like the Corbin thing.
Yeah.
And there are guys on Raw I'd like to see him in the ring with, Finn Balor and Seth Rollins and Roman and
yeah,
Braun Strowman, whatever. Who knows? It's cool. It's a good piece. It's a good piece to fit on Raw, especially and he was a part of the main event. It's cool.
Yeah, no. Well, it's also one of those things where his debut on SmackDown wasn't as his initial run wasn't as good as I think we all expected it to be.
It wasn't as glorious as it could have been.
Exactly.
Sorry.
No, but
sorry.
But I think. I mean, he's going to turn heel, right? Like that's what the plan is.
That's the thing. Yeah, he was such a great heel in NXT. I thought for sure when he came up to, so
he's too good of a heel not to just. I mean, if it's not working for him as a face, you have the easy solution right there because it works so well as a heel in NXT. So I think that's coming up.
I really hope so. I'm pulling for it, and I was pulling for it when he came up, as mentioned. So yeah, dude, if they pull the trigger, make him a heel, he could be a big player on Raw. Yeah, it'd be cool. Bobby Roode, he has the stuff. They split up a tag team as well. This is the final move over to Raw. Chad Gable splitting up from Shelton Benjamin, heading over to Raw. He seems happy to be going solo. Now he finally gets to do his own thing. Do you think he's gonna have an impact? Or I mean, I'm looking at his stats. He is under 205 pounds, so that's where I thought they'd probably just throw him. But I hope he has, because he's great in the ring, man. I hope that he gets a spot, but, he's not the biggest guy. Is that going to hurt him?
Yeah, well, I mean, it is the WWE, so there's a good chance it will. I don't know. I don't know how much faith WWE has in him, considering when he was with Jason Jordan, they chose Jordan to be Kurt's illegitimate son when...
Yeah, I don't... Dude, it would have made so much more sense with Chad.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like... There's the obvious...
Well, like the amateur wrestling background.
That's what I was going to say. There's the obvious parallel there with the amateur wrestling background. And I don't know. They gave him Shelton Benjamin to kind of run with. And they ended up getting a title shot, but then they got swept in a... what the hell is it called? A best 2 out of 3 falls?
2 out of 3, yeah.
They got swept 2-0. So I don't know how much they believe in him. I don't know how much room there is on Raw. I don't know if he's going to stay heel. I don't know what's going on with him, man. I don't know. There's not much room.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. Yeah, that's the main thing for me. Lack of room on Raw, but yeah, wish Gable all the best. As mentioned, Jeff Hardy, or I don't know if you mentioned this, but Jeff Hardy's now on SmackDown and bringing the U.S. title with him. So, yeah, I was hoping to see Rollins head over to Raw or to SmackDown, but having Hardy on there, I'm happy with. And, that's kind of where he made his mark during his, his WWE title runs and all that. It was on SmackDown. So,
yeah, it's
cool to have him back. And, when he left WWE in 2009, he said he would be back on SmackDown. And here he is. So, it's cool. And now he's got a title. And, Jeff Hardy and AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy and Daniel Bryan, Jeff Hardy and Shinsuke Nakamura.
Mm-hmm. A lot of matches there for him. Yeah.
It's cool. Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville heading over to SmackDown as mentioned earlier. So, to split up the women, so to speak. Riot Squad going over to Raw. And, their former mentor, former tag team partner, former manager, Paige is now the SmackDown Live general manager. So, it looks like Paige is going to be the face. So, is she going to turn heel, or are Mandy and Sonya going to turn face? I don't know. I think it's even going to be a thing together.
It'll be interesting to see because I mean I think I talked about earlier in this episode about how I don't like when people turn face and heel, like when someone is a face and then turns heel and then back to face, or vice versa, right? Like I don't like it when it happens so quickly. But I think that's the one situation where it makes sense because there's no way they could have brought Paige out as the GM and pretended she was a heel, especially after that retirement speech the night before. So they had to bring her out as a face. But it makes all the sense in the world for her to be a heel because, like you've been saying, you like it when there's one face GM and one heel GM, and they're not.
It kind of works.
Yeah, Kurt Angle's not going to turn heel anytime soon.
No.
And I think it makes sense to have Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville be kind of like the people that she favors on the show. You know what I mean? As the heel manager.
Yeah. And obviously, there's a lot of women. Well, the thing is, because I was going to say they could be like the lead heel stable for the women's division, but I'd probably make that the Iconics if I'm gonna be smart, but you never know, right? I mean, maybe if they turn Mandy and Sonya face, you can have like a face tag team versus the heel tag team.
Mm-hmm.
You never know. I know the company has a lot of faith in the two, probably especially Mandy. So I mean, it's kind of hard to call, and it's really hard to call pretty much anything at this time for any of these moves. But yeah, well, I think next week we'll kind of see what happens with them and Paige. That's going to be my prediction.
Yeah, so it'll be sooner rather than later for sure. Yeah,
dude. Next one, we finally saw Sin Cara back on SmackDown, which is fantastic news.
Yeah.
But he got choked out. Samoa Joe to SmackDown Live. That's a huge pickup.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still having his stuff with Roman going on and all that. I guess that kind of puts the kibosh on long-term plans for Joe and Roman going forward.
Yeah, which sucks,
especially if it's for the Universal title. But Joe and AJ, Joe and Shinsuke, which is happening in NXT, Joe and we talked about all of them before. It's cool. I'm intrigued, and that's a big pull for SmackDown Live. Is he gonna be the WWE champion this year anytime soon? I think he's got to get the big push. Well, that's me.
That's what I was gonna say. This is probably my favorite move of the whole Superstar Shakeup. Is that like. I love Joe. How can you not love Joe? That pop he got when he came back last Monday was pretty surreal. And he's only been back for 2 weeks, and he's cut like 3 of the best promos of the year so far.
Oh, they're fantastic, man. To cut you off, sorry. Yeah, my favorite Joe promo is from last year when him and Roman and Brock Lesnar are on the ring, and Brock's looking over at Roman, and Joe's like, "No, you look at me when I'm talking to you." Like, that's so... Like, you can believe... You can look at that and say, wow, Joe's actually pissed right now.
Yeah.
But he's so good... Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, he's so good at just delivering, like, believable, angry promos. He's amazing. Sorry, go ahead, though. I was just cutting you off there.
No, all good. No, I'm with you, man. One of the things that I hate about WWE is that every heel is like a weaselly rat, which is a fine character to play, but not every heel needs to be a coward. And Joe is kind of the outlier in that he's a badass. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And like when he was teasing going to fight Roman this past week on Raw, when he's saying like, "Oh, we're gonna do it on my terms. I'll do it at Backlash."
Yeah. I
don't think, wow, like you suck because you're not even gonna fight right now. It's that's cool. Like he's getting in his head.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's badass.
And I love the move because this does open up more of a path to him winning the title than I think he had on Raw. Because there's just...
For sure.
Like, the Raw main event scene is so crowded. Like, with Joe being on SmackDown, I feel like there's no chance that he's not, at minimum, he's going to be the number 2 heel on SmackDown, right?
Oh, it's cool. It's very cool. Yeah. I'm happy to see him on SmackDown. Some not controversy with this next one, but I know some fans weren't happy with because it was only 3/4 of the stable going up. But Sanity heading up to SmackDown, which I think a lot of people saw coming. I think a lot of people saw them coming up to the main roster nonetheless. But no Nikki Cross for Sanity, so they don't get. She's nuts, but she's fun to watch. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
And you get EY, Alexander Wolf, Killian Dane. I think they could have a big spot on SmackDown. I think adding them, you think about it. You got Sanity, the Bludgeon Brothers, the Usos, Sheamus and Cesaro, and the New Day.
Yeah.
That is stacked. I think it's a little overcrowded, but that is insanely stacked. That blows Raw's tag team division out the water.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is it's interesting that they decided to just stack the SmackDown tag team division. I've always kind of thought that maybe the tag division would be better if they put all of the tag teams on one brand and let them just battle it out. There's gonna be less of a spotlight for certain guys. Like there's gonna be months at a time where a good tag team like Cesaro and Sheamus maybe doesn't get a lot of airtime, right? Or the New Day doesn't get a lot. Well, actually, maybe not the New Day. They're pretty untouchable. But okay, like the Usos don't get a lot of airtime for a bit, right? But I think the tag team title matches are going to be legendary on SmackDown because it's, like you said, it's just such a stacked division. Raw is like, I mean, it's okay. Like Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy is interesting. They're probably going to win the tag titles, but that's only just going to be a setup for them breaking up down the line. You know what I mean? Like they're going to
see what I think's going to happen. This was and I kind of teased it earlier. What I think's going to happen because with Sheamus and Cesaro heading over to SmackDown, initially, automatically, you're going to think, well, they're not winning the Raw Tag Team titles, right?
Oh, I like where this is going.
At Greatest Royal Rumble. Okay. But I think they are going to win because SmackDown is just too stacked. It's too good to be true, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're going to head over back to Raw. Not bring the Tag Team titles with them to SmackDown because that's dumb. They're going to head back to Raw. So maybe, they'll say, well, we kind of did agree on having a tag team over here. That's what Paige can argue, so maybe that brings the revival over. Or maybe you leave them there. I don't think anybody's going back over to Raw except for Sheamus and Cesaro, but I think they are going to go back because it's just too stacked. It's not like Raw and SmackDown the past year where they were both like okay. I'd say SmackDown kind of had the edge, but it's a clear-cut favorite for SmackDown being the absolute favorite. So I think Sheamus and Cesaro are going to head back. So that's my prediction. Sorry, Matt. Sorry, Bray. But I think your time's coming. But Sheamus and Cesaro are going to take back those Raw Tag Team titles. That's
an interesting theory. I wouldn't say I'd be shocked if that would happen. But I really do think that Bray and Matt are going to win the tag titles. And split up down the line. I think if they could just tell a good story with Matt and Bray being tag champions for a bit and just have like an absolute war on SmackDown. Like I think we're gonna see a lot of triple threat tag matches, fatal 4-way tag matches, just because there's so many tag teams to work with. And then on Raw, maybe, just maybe, teams like the Ascension or Breezango, because there's not a lot of other good tag teams, maybe they get more of a shot. You know what I mean? I don't know.
See, I don't trust WWE. I don't think. I just think if they keep Sheamus and Cesaro on SmackDown, I think the Raw Tag Division is just going to be really bad because they even lost like Gallows and Anderson, who are great depth guys. They went over to SmackDown.
Yeah.
So
I think they need a bigger push, man.
Well, I think they got their meal ticket in the WWE Champions, so I think they're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to call Sheamus and Cesaro going back to SmackDown. Wastes a pick, but kind of adds to a storyline. Because I think doing it and then also having them challenge for the Raw Tag Team titles, it's not like, you're challenging for a singles title that can just move back and forth. You're challenging for the exclusive tag titles of a show. I think it's just, it's too much, it's too dumb to reveal this as being the go-to. So I think Sheamus and Cesaro are going to win the Raw Tag Team titles in that match. Big Cass on SmackDown. Big impact on the first night. Looks like he and Daniel Bryan are gonna have a thing going forward. Looks like him and Shinsuke Nakamura are gonna have some sort of partnership. They interfered in the main event, and What do you think about Big Cass? Because obviously they have a lot of faith in him, and one thing to mention is that his girlfriend Carmella is on the show, and she is the SmackDown Women's Champion. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of possibilities for Cass. Where do you see him going?
Well, first off, you're definitely right. They definitely have a lot of faith in him. That's been apparent for a while now. What do I think of him? I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I just haven't seen much. When he initially broke up with Enzo Amore, we'll just say that that rivalry left a lot to be desired. So I don't know, man. I don't really know what to think of it. I'm not a big fan of his right now, but I'm willing to give him a shot and see if he changes my mind. Right? Sorry,
I'll give you that. No, I'll give you. I'm just piggybacking on what you're saying. I definitely agree with that. Just haven't seen enough. Honestly, I was really hoping him and Enzo were going to win the tag team titles at one point. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that can't happen now, but with Cass, I don't know, man. I don't know. Thrusting him into the main event scene, I don't think it was a good move. It's kind of like Corbin, I think kind of guys like that need to kind of have to, if you want to push them, fine, that's cool, but kind of give them a run in the U.S. title scene, the IC title scene first. And that's not a knock against Corbin. He's a great guy who I think has the potential to be a main event, player.
But they pushed him too soon.
Yeah, exactly. And they gave him the briefcase way to, before he even won a singles title.
Yeah.
And, well, look what happened. They had him lose it. I mean, that might have been due to attitude problems, as it was reported, with Twitter and all that.
Which is whatever, but yeah.
Yeah, it happens. But I'd put him much higher than Cass. So yeah, I'll give it a run with Cass here. But I don't know.
I will say this though. I definitely would not have. I definitely don't like that Daniel Bryan's first post WrestleMania rivalry after being off for 3 years looks like it's gonna be Big Cass.
Oh, dude, yeah. I mean, it could be a thing where they're just trying to push Bryan and using Cass as the bait, but I don't know. I don't think Bryan's gonna come out of this as the clear favorite winner of the feud, so to speak.
It's not even just that. It's like we've been waiting 3 years to see Daniel Bryan fight guys like AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura and all these even like The Miz to go back into that rivalry, but Big Cass, that's... Well,
so I think, and I was reading this, and I think Dave Meltzer even said this, I'm going to pull it up, actually. Yeah, Dave Meltzer was talking about, from the Wrestling Observer, he was talking about what he thought was going to happen with Cass, and he said he could see Cass kind of teaming up with Miz, which I think would make a lot of sense, because
that would make a lot of sense.
They're both heels. B, they both hate Daniel Bryan, I guess, at this point. And yeah, I mean, you pair, maybe Cass can kind of be like the Miztourage at this point. You know what I mean? Like the one-man Miztourage.
Yeah, and a much more effective version. I think that would be awesome, actually. And then if you really do have the faith in Big Cass that we think the WWE does, then you could, somewhere down the line, you could have a storyline where Cass turns on Miz and turns face, and they could have a cool program together. That would be a great way to use Cass, but...
Or, maybe they turn on one another, and then you can set up the mixed tag team match. Cass and Carmella versus Miz and Maurice, the new mom. You never know.
Yeah, if she's ready to come back, or...
If she's ready to come back,
but I also feel like Carmella's probably going to be... we'll see, actually. That's an interesting proposition.
It's cool, man. It's cool. Yeah. I was kind of hoping to see Cass with Mella just because she's kind of that cowardly heel,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And hey, congratulations to her on winning the title once again. Big ups to her. That's really cool to see. But yeah, we'll see. Cass back on SmackDown now, and looks like they have a lot of faith in him.
Mm-hmm.
Big name over to SmackDown as well. I think we kind of all saw this one coming. Asuka, I mean, at least I did, heading over to SmackDown, saving Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair from an attack from Mella and the Iconics. Well, the SmackDown Women's Division got a whole lot better with Asuka coming over. I wouldn't say the Raw Women's Division got worse. Well, it's still pretty good, but dude, they're loading up SmackDown is what I'm seeing. It's weird, right? Because they don't like SmackDown more than Raw.
Well, I think they heard fans' complaints about SmackDown being so obviously inferior to Raw, and they're trying to beef up the lineup, right? Which I kind of wish they had done this before they decided to do all pay-per-views co-branded, because it would have made some of the pay-per-views of last year a lot more interesting. But
yes,
I think it makes sense to load it up. It's going to be super interesting to see where Asuka, how the WWE handles Asuka going forward, because it feels like her undefeated streak was snapped a little prematurely, but she's obviously talented enough to still be a big deal if they just have to be very careful in how they book her going forward.
What I saw with them is, the streak's been going on for a long time, and I'm thinking they saw that and said, okay, we can probably break it. It's been a couple years. But the thing is that she was only on the main roster. She's only been on the main roster for less than a year.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
On the main roster, the streak hasn't really been a huge sort of, I don't know what you want to call it, but it didn't really have any ground, so to speak.
Yeah, it was like you said, in the eyes of casual WWE fans that don't watch NXT or anything and that don't really look up on anything, she was only undefeated for less than a year. Right, so it wasn't like this huge multi-year undefeated streak in the eyes of a lot of WWE's casual fans.
And she was never champion on the main roster.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't want her to just be part of the women's division, but it's stacked. So we'll see what happens with her.
Yep.
Gaz mentioned if you have a point there, go ahead.
No. I was just agreeing, but yeah, I don't know. I just hope she doesn't turn into like kind of what Becky Lynch was, where everyone thought that she was one of the top. Well, I mean, she is one of the top women competitors in WWE, but she was just kind of like she's been floating for a while with nothing really to do.
Just floating, yeah. And now and you'd think, well, they have the good spots now with the shakeups, but Naomi's just coming off the Battle Royal win, so they're going to push her, and, she's kind of inserting herself into the Bludgeon Brothers feud with the Usos. And
which is unnecessary, but whatever.
Which is interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, it's weird. I don't know. I don't know what to think of it.
Yeah.
But good luck to Asuka on SmackDown. The boys heading over to SmackDown as well, as mentioned, Gallows and Anderson. As I said before, the meal ticket is there, and the WWE champ, AJ Styles, good old BC reuniting. Their thing with Finn Balor kind of crapped out. It didn't really make any sense because they teamed up, and then they kind of had this weird on and off sort of I don't even know which alliance and partnership, and then it just didn't happen. So I like Gallows and Anderson with AJ. When they first came into WWE a couple years ago, and hold this up with Cena. Please don't have them going back to like wearing doctor outfits and all that. It's just stupid. It's dumb. I think they could be. I want to say they could be real players on SmackDown, but SmackDown's tag team division got pretty. They got to fight for their spot now. So it's. Sure. That's cool.
I truly believe that by having like almost all of their good tag teams on one show, it's gonna bring up the best in the division. It's just gonna mean that a lot of people have to take time out of the spotlight. So
yeah, and I don't. I wouldn't want to see so many multi-man tag team matches. It's just so like it means so much more if you have the one-on-one match. I know they had the triple threat tag team match at WrestleMania. That's fine because you had 3 good teams. But if you can have, especially now in a loaded division, if you can have the top 2 teams going at it in a standard tag team match, that's big because you look at who it wasn't in that match.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of adds on to your point that some tag teams, as big as they are going to have to take a back seat now. So
yeah.
We'll see how they handle it. I'm still calling Sheamus and Cesaro heading over to SmackDown, or heading back to Raw.
Yeah.
R-Truth thinks it's Raw, but he's on SmackDown now, as you saw that backstage promo.
That was pretty funny.
He's got a little handshake with Ty Dillinger. Maybe they'll team up and add up to that SAC tag team division.
No,
but
absolutely
Truth
not.
Coming over.
No.
Truth is adding some depth to the show. He's still got it, dude. The guy's like in his mid-40s. He's still got it. So
yeah,
yeah. Well, you can't deny he's athletic.
No, absolutely not. No.
He's in better shape than I will ever be, and I'm like half his age.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That is fair.
And then the final move, and it's cool. I'm actually really intrigued by this one. I've used the word intrigued a lot, but I'm just intrigued by the Superstar Shakeup. The former NXT champion Andrade Cien Almas with Zelina Vega heading up to SmackDown Live. I think if he went to Raw, he would have been fed to the fish, or to the big dogs, so to speak, because he's of his size.
Yeah.
But now getting over to SmackDown, and man, I'm gonna say it again, but Almas and AJ, Almas and Nakamura, Almas and Dan O'Brien,
be pretty sweet.
Yeah, I think he could be a big player. He's just coming off a great title run, and when they put him together with Zelina Vega in NXT, he really just he did a full 180 on his career. He kind of floundered in NXT for a bit, and he was brought in as a big deal. Couldn't really connect with the crowd, and was kind of like a happy guy. And he became one of the best heels, and he was just a part of a 5-star match in WWE this past year. So, that wasn't all the credit to Johnny Gargano, but you can't give all the credit to Johnny Gargano. That's a 2-man match, and he did one hell of a job in that one. And his match with Aleister Black at this past NXT TakeOver in New Orleans was great as well. So
absolutely,
that's an intriguing one, man. It's cool.
I really love the move. I think the blue brand, as they call it, is the perfect place for him to go. It'll be interesting to see where he works himself out in terms of like who the big heels are in SmackDown, because you have heel Shinsuke at the top right now, and then you have Samoa Joe and The Miz, and those guys are always going to be at the top. I'd like to see if he can kind of carve out that spot as like one of the main heels in the mid card for a while, and see if he can
like in a maybe take over Jinder spot in a sense.
Yeah, and be way better than Jinder. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I know that's a personal one, but oh man, yeah, I don't know. It's cool, man. It's cool. That's the thing, right? When you come up from NXT, like you have to first of all get past Vince McMahon and his booking, because right off the bat, it's not a huge thing. But when No Way Jose came up, they gave him a different kind of character in a sense that he's now, he's got the party. They got the conga line or whatever of people with him, and that's gonna fail. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it is 100%. They're setting him up to fail.
Yeah,
it's a comedy act.
But,
yeah.
Even McIntyre coming up, he was kind of he had all the respect in the world in the NXT, and he just wanted to look for a good fight. Now he's coming up as a heel, and things change when you come up to the main roster. It happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
So hopefully he doesn't get lost in that shuffle of guys coming up from NXT who just couldn't cut it, and it's not their fault, so to speak. It's just bad booking. So I'm pulling for Andrade, and Zelina. Zelina's great, man. She interferes very well in the matches. I hope they don't exploit that too much, because when she did in NXT, it just came off so naturally, and it was like, wow, I don't like this woman, but she's great, But
they're awesome together.
In WWE, WWE, they're gonna mess something up. That's all. That's all for the Superstar Shakeup. Couple more matches announced for the Greatest Royal Rumbles. We'll just touch on this before we wrap up in a moment. AJ Styles, rematch from WrestleMania, can defend the WWE Championship against Shinsuke Nakamura. And, yeah, we'll see what happens there. I'm sure AJ will retain, but you never know. They're pushing this one pretty big, like this event pretty big. So I definitely expect to see at least one title change.
Yeah.
That's me, though. That's just me.
No, that's fair, yeah.
Bray Wyatt, Matt Hardy already announced the challenge for the Raw Tag Team titles. I think Cesaro and Sheamus are going to retain, or not retain, just claim the titles and stay on Raw. Reclaim their spot on Raw is what I'm trying to say. I think they're going to head back over to Raw, so we'll see what happens there. And Cedric Alexander going to be defending the Cruiserweight Championship. We just don't know who against who, I should say.
Right.
Just because Buddy Murphy, who was the challenger we thought was going to happen, he failed his weigh-in prior to this past week's 205 Live in storyline. So
I was about to say, like, that's okay. Yeah. Anyway, go on. Well, that's it.
No, that's pretty much. Yeah. That's it. That's pretty much it. But the one we'll end on this. Rusev is back on. His casket match with the Undertaker's back on after initially being replaced by Chris Jericho. What's going on with Rusev? Is this a major work, or is there like legitimate beef?
I'm gonna say, like, look, we'll never really know until,
or a mixture of both.
Yeah, we'll never really know until someone involved kind of comes out and says what's going on, which may honestly never happen. But what I would assume happened is that this is what I think happened. Okay, I think Rusev was sick of being so over and not getting any spotlight. I think he was going to be in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, and he was going to lose, and he was pissed. So he said, I'm done. I'm out. And they said, okay, wait. We'll put you in the U.S. title match. Just relax, right? Like, that's how they got him to kind of, like, calm down. And then he ends up taking the pin. And they go, okay, we'll also give you Taker at the Royal Rumble, like the 50-man Royal Rumble or whatever. And he's just like, no, you know what? This is enough. I'm done. I'm way too over to be doing this. I'm going to go on the independent scene. And so he pulled out. And I truly believe that he asked for his release from WWE and he was on his way out. And that's why they put Jericho in. And then they finally came to their senses and were kind of like, okay, wait. We need to fix this. We can't make the same mistake that we've made before, and we can't let him walk out the door. So they figured out a way to get him back. I think he's going to get a huge push going forward because I think they finally said, all right, this is what we're going to have planned for you afterwards. If you just stay with us, we'll give you back the Taker match.
See, here's the thing. Everybody on the roster can do the exact same thing. They could say, oh, well, I think I should be in the main event, so I'm going to quit.
Well,
fair enough.
It's not about being in the main event, though. It's about
or whatever,
being treated like garbage, pretty much.
Yeah. Like anybody, there's so many guys and girls that can make that same case, right?
Yeah.
But you cannot deny how popular Rusev is.
Yeah, exactly.
He has earned that right to be, to act that way. And we're just speculating, right? But he has earned that way to act the way that we're speculating.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
The dude he's the most over thing, one of the most over things right now in the WWE. They're chanting Rusev Day on Raw. That's just how over it is. Now maybe, and that's not even the Raw after WrestleMania crowd. That's just any regular Raw. You're getting Rusev Day chants. When Aiden English comes out and clears his throat, the crowd goes insane. That's insane.
Yeah.
How a guy can come out and clear his throat, and people are like, "Oh wow, like this is gonna Rusev's coming out." So you can't deny it. And I'm sorry, WWE. I know you didn't push him organic. I didn't. It was organic. You didn't make him what he is. He made himself what he is. Everybody loves Rusev. That's the plain and simple. So I'm sorry if he's kind of putting you in a tough spot, but you kind of put yourself there.
Yeah, exactly.
And you kind of put yourself in the tough spot. So I love it, man.
Yeah,
I don't like the match with Taker because I know he's gonna lose.
Yeah, but losing to Taker is not that big of a deal. It's not.
Yeah,
I guess he's technically literally getting buried because it's a casket match, but I don't think it's a real burial. You know what I mean?
Oh man, I don't know, but I hope this is Rusev year, this year.
Yeah, I think I truly believe that's how they got him to come back, is that they promised him a big push going forward, and I think he earned the right to kind of say to them, do this or I'm leaving, and they gave it to him, and I think that's awesome because he deserves to be pushed.
Yeah,
we need to see it.
He's not out of line.
Yeah,
complaining to your bosses about that. You kind of got to do. You got to go with your own thing. You got to do what they got to tell you, right?
He's not the first guy to do it, man. Punk did it.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I was gonna say. Yeah, sometimes you got to stick up for yourself, and I get it. You're in a great spot in your life, and you're making money, and you're getting to do a lot of cool things, and you're a very popular person, but you got to earn respect, man. And Rusev's earned it, and they're not giving it to him. So I wish him all the best. SmackDown is very loaded, so good luck to him. Maybe he moves over to Raw because that worked out the first time. But we'll see, man. Yeah. We'll see.
Can we just?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, can we just talk about for a second before we wrap up how awesome heel Shinsuke is so far?
It's weird. I don't know what to think of it. It's kind of cool.
I love it.
But
first of all, him selling the low blow, that massive, I'm gonna cut you in half with this uppercut to the balls, low blow that he's been delivering.
Dude, it's on an angle as well. He's coming to hit the thigh and all that too. I don't know. The
thing with me is, if he didn't do that, he would actually hurt AJ pretty bad.
Yeah, that's true. The thing with me though is that I think I was so sold on Styles turning heel that it's still oh, okay, Nakamura's heel. But he's really doing well with it.
The deranged faces he's making, I don't know, man. I love it. I don't know what he's doing. And oh my god, when he keeps saying, every time they try to interview him, when he keeps saying, no speak English.
It's so odd, man. I don't know what to think of it.
I love it, man.
Odd.
I think it's just one of those awesome short. How do I say it? You remember how last year after WrestleMania, the Raw after WrestleMania, Roman Reigns came out and cut one of the best promos of his career, and it was literally just, "This is my yard now," and that's it. Dropped the mic and walked out.
5 words is all it took.
Exactly, and I think this is Shinsuke's version of that, except it's a running joke. And again, like I said last week, I think one of the biggest complaints that some WWE fans have about Shinsuke is that he doesn't speak English, and because he doesn't speak English, they can't connect with them, and they don't think he can cut a good promo, obviously, if he's not speaking the same language as them. So I think him running off of that it's pretty awesome.
See, the thing for me is that I'm not a huge fan of, oh, you're foreign, so we're going to make you a heel. That's the thing I saw initially. They're just going to make him another foreign heel who is going to lose to the American, the good American every time. And I'm also not a fan of, if you're not very, if you don't speak English very well, let's not exploit that. Because I think that's just a little disrespectful and offensive at first.
That's
because I only say that because I feel Nakamura deserves a whole lot more. No, it's not like a low card guy who's like Funaki. No offense to Funaki, but he was just like a funny gimmick SmackDown #1 announcer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is Shinsuke Nakamura.
No, that's fair, but I don't think this is a typical foreign heel gimmick, right? Like, he's not hating on America or anything.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think he's just playing off of some of the negative reactions he's got from some fans. I don't know. He's been a face for a long time in the WWE, and now he's trying out the whole heel thing. And it's not like his whole heel gimmick is centered on the fact that he's foreign. He's just using the one line about how he doesn't speak English and ignoring interviews. You know what I mean? Like, it's...
Yeah.
I think it's cool. I love heel Shinsuke. So far, anyway.
We'll see. I have high hopes. I'm pulling for it to work, but
yeah.
I mean, nonetheless, the matches are going to be good, so that's cool. I'm not worried about that. That's really all that matters for me. So, yeah, Nakamura challenging Styles for the WWE title at the Greatest Royal Rumble. I'm just going to end it. Well, we're going to end it here. Obviously, some unfortunate news this past week.
Yeah.
WWE Hall of Famer Bruno Sammartino has passed away, unfortunately, at the age of 82. If you don't know, Sammartino is a Hall of Fame member since 2013, and he holds the record for the longest WWE title reign at 2,803 days.
Yeah, wrestling was a little different back then.
Just a little bit, but nonetheless, we are our thoughts and prayers, our condolences to the Sammartino family. He's obviously a staple of big star in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where he's from, and a lot of tweets coming out this week from people in the wrestling world. So it's nice to see, and rest in peace, Bruno. You were obviously a huge star, and we obviously wish your family nothing but the best. Hey, and
he's the original WWE star, really. Like,
he's the guy.
My dad was telling me the other day about how my grandfather got into wrestling because he loved Bruno Sammartino. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, it's so and. It's that's so cool, man. That's so cool.
Yeah, it is.
It's but we wish the family all the best, and Bruno Sammartino, man, you're with in our thoughts and prayers. Anyway, we're gonna wrap up this week's episode of Figure 4 Podcast. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can at Figure 4 Pod. Link will be in the description of this video. This video will be on YouTube, and next week just talk about Raw and SmackDown. See all the fallout from the Superstar Shakeup, and see what goes on in those shows, and a little preview for the Greatest Royal Rumble. Again, that will take place on Friday, April 27th on the WWE Network in Saudi Arabia, as you've probably heard 1,000 times if you've watched the WWE product over the past few weeks, because that's all they like to say about that show.
Yep.
I've been Mike Cummings. Dan, thanks for joining me. That's Dan Marino.
Of course.
And we'll see you next week for the Figure 4 Podcast.